what we need to do is turn the temperature down and keep steady hands at the wheel. And that's what I'm trying to do every day. It's just, look, we got to treat one another with dignity and respect. The person on the other side of the aisle is not your enemy. That's your fellow American. And the whole point of this exercise of the constitutional republic, which is still a grand experiment on the world stage, is that it is presupposed that we're going to show up at the nation's capital and have very different ideas and philosophies. But it's also presupposed you'll be willing to sit around a table and work it out. Talk through your objections. Find the solution. Get to yes.
Top leaders, meaningful conversation, actionable advice, bulldoze complacency, ignite inspiration, create impact. Produced by Southwestern family of companies. This is the Action Catalyst.
Southwestern Advantage is about so much more than just helping your family with education. Our company is the nation's oldest entrepreneurial program, helping college and university students build character and develop the skills they need to achieve their goals in life. These are the kind of skills employers seek that cannot be taught in a classroom. Skills such as problem solving, effective personal communication with people from all walks of life, confidence, attitude, goal setting, and more. Since 1855, the Southwestern family of companies has invested in purpose-driven people who are inspired to build principle-guided businesses that impact the world. And for many, that purpose started with a summer at Southwestern Advantage. But this program isn't just about growing the young men and women whom you'll see in the community. It's also about growing your own son or daughter, and the educational resources they will bring to your home are second to none, with learning systems that address the whole child from preschool to 12th grade. Uniquely designed by top educators, these resources serve the modern needs of today's private, public, and homeschooled students. They're kid-approved, parent-preferred, and teacher-recommended. At Southwestern Advantage and the Southwestern family of companies, we invest in building people and inspire them to achieve their goals in life, to positively impact the world. Learn more at southwesternadvantage.com/action.
The Action Catalyst recently had the chance to catch up with Mike Johnson, an American politician and lawyer currently serving as the 56th Speaker of the United States House of Representatives since October of 2023, having represented Louisiana's 4th Congressional District since 2017. While I was not able to speak with him directly due to scheduling conflicts, he was able to spend some time with our producers and provided some insight into the principles that crafted his leadership style and where they came from, which, as it turns out, the speaker and I have in common in a very specific way.
You and our hosts have something major in common, which is that you all participated in the Southwestern Advantage program in college.
I really can't express to you how much this company and this experience meant to me. And there was a time in my life when I thought that it should be mandatory for every single person to do for at least one summer because it was so formative in my life. I mean, I know everybody who's alum of Southwestern has their own experience and why it was such a big thing in their life, but it really, really was to me. I was born in Shreveport, Louisiana, it's a little town in northwest Louisiana, and my dad was a firefighter. I was actually the product of an unplanned pregnancy. My parents were like sweethearts in high school. They'd been dating since 7th grade, and I was conceived their junior year in high school, and it was a year before Roe v. Wade became the law of the land. But all their friends said take care of that problem, and they decided not to. So they dropped out of school. They got married. My dad went to work early on, and so he had a big heart for service, and he wound up joining the fire department, serving the community. And he was a pretty sharp guy. But he became assistant chief of our fire department. And in 1984, September 1984, he was responding to what they thought was a routine call, a big warehouse that was on fire, and it blew up. And my dad got burned 80% of his body, 3rd-degree burns. And he had a 5% chance to live. He was permanently disabled after that. Hugely traumatic event in our lives. And I was 12 years old at the time, the oldest of 4 kids. And that event kind of changed the trajectory of all of our lives. I had to grow up real fast and start kind of taking care in large part of my younger siblings and our little small family farm. And I just learned a lot about hard work and sacrifice and the faith of our family that carried us through all that. And you look back over your life and you realize how formative all that stuff is. And then because I wanted to be the fire chief of my hometown, until that happened, they wouldn't let me do it. And so they said, no, you guys are going to go to school instead. So I wound up being the first person in my family to go to college. And I went to LSU because, if you go to college in Louisiana, you go to LSU. I wound up there and I was wandering around campus that spring. I can't remember exactly. I mean, it's been a long time ago. This is 1991. Okay. but I'm pretty sure they handed me a flyer and they hooked me in somehow. These guys get great sales pitches. And I don't know what it was about me, but they thought maybe there's a diamond in the rough here. And they convinced me to do it. So I said, hey, yeah, man, you mean I can run my own business? Challenge? Let's go. So I did it. Southwestern Advantage has innovated and gotten through, and now thousands and 100,000 people now have had the experience. It was the greatest thing I ever did. I mean, I'm not kidding. It's just an incredible thing.
So where did you sell in your first summer?
The first summer, the greatest territory of all time, Tucson, Arizona. All right. So we all drove our college cars out there. And I was working about 3 weeks in Tucson. I'm from Louisiana. You know, the humidity is like 100% all the time. And in Tucson, it's not. I was at a lady's doorstep and I passed out probably 2.5 weeks into my summer. And I spent 3 days in the ICU. I got so dehydrated, almost died in Tucson, Arizona. True story. I mean, I was out of it for like a day and a half, almost died. And so after that, they said, you should hydrate. I was like, I thought I was. No. So every door was somebody to offer me a drink or fruit or whatever, I would take it. But we sold a lot of books in Tucson in spite of my almost dying there. And so then I came back the next summer. And that summer, we went to Appleton, Wisconsin, and I had to learn the trick. Like, this is what you learn about life, right? You learn to deal with everybody and answer objections and find commonality, right? So now remember, this is summer 92. Brett Favre's at the height of his career, Green Bay Packers, and we're in Appleton, Wisconsin. And oh, you're from Louisiana. You must know Brett Favre. Okay, so Brett Favre is from Mississippi. It's not the same state, but in Wisconsin, that's close enough. And so, I'm just disclaiming, no, I don't know the Favres, unfortunately. Ooh, okay, but I picked up on it like, maybe I should just go with this. The Favres are a great family. Oh, okay, come on in, I start wearing his jersey. You do what you got to do.
Definitely sounds like you picked up a few tricks.
It would be a slight overstatement to say everything I know about life I learned on the book field, but it would not be an overstatement to say it's probably the most important experience that I ever had in forming the things that I do today. It's difficult to overstate how important this is and what those skills do for you as you go through life. Finished LSU, I went to law school, became a husband and a father, and then I became a constitutional law attorney for 20 years, and then I ran for the state legislature, and ran for Congress, and now I'm the Speaker of the House. And I'm just telling you that in all this time, I've been practicing what I learned on the book field. The reason I'm the Speaker of the House right now is because if you watched all the drama play out, I was the only person in the room that could get 217 votes. I did not aspire to this position. But the reason I am the Speaker of the House is probably in large measure because of what I learned at Southwestern. I'm not exaggerating. It's true, because when I got to Congress, I treated it like I treated everything in every stage of my life and my career, is that, I want everybody to succeed. I want to bring out the best in everybody and let the whole team succeed together. And I have great empathy for people. I learned perseverance. I learned that you don't hold grudges. I learned to take rejection. They can't hurt my feelings. I mean, really, you learn to deal with everybody's objections and work through things and work through problems and get people to succeed together. And I mean, that's just my approach in life. It's biblical values, but we learned how to implement it. And so I've been doing that since I got to Congress. And so when it came time, when we had this void and we couldn't find a leader that everybody would trust, I was in the back of the room and, I knew that I could get all those votes, but I was not trying to I wasn't running for it. I was trying to let all the more senior guys get the position who were like brothers to me. And at the end of the day, it fell to me. And now I'm practicing all those principles in spades every day.
Yeah. So what are some of the unique challenges now as Speaker that you're applying those principles to?
We have the smallest majority in the history of the United States Congress. The only exception was in 1917 in the 65th Congress, when they had such a slim margin. They had a 0.46% margin for the majority. Ours is 0.9%. So I can only lose one person to get anything over the line. So it's an extraordinary challenge. I spend half the day as Speaker of the House, the other half of the day as a mental health counselor. And I bring in everybody and sit them down, kneaded into my office, and say, well, how can we help you be successful? What is your best role in the team? I'm going through all these, answering their objections, doing all this stuff. And you learn to solve problems. You learn to earn people's trust. And that's what we do. So we practice it every day.
And you're not the only person on the Hill who can relate to having this experience. That's right.
Marsha Blackburn is a senator, and she and I talk about this all the time. Rick Perry's an alum, been 4 governors, I think. I mean, it's a extraordinary thing. I think I'm the first Speaker of the House from Southwestern. That's pretty cool.
That is pretty cool. That's got to be a big boost of confidence.
I'll just tell you, in Washington, they beat me down mercilessly every day. But again, they can't hurt our feelings, right? We don't know how to get past that. But in seriousness, the country's facing a massive collection of crises. And it's probably as divided as it's been maybe, since maybe the Civil War era. The collection of headwinds that we face as a nation are so extraordinary, all at the same time. And the world is a dangerous place right now. And things are really unstable. And so it makes people feel unsettled. What we need to do is to walk in it and turn the temperature down and keep steady hands at the wheel. And that's what I'm trying to do every day. It's just, look, we got to treat one another with dignity and respect. The person on the other side of the aisle is not your enemy. That's your fellow American. And the whole point of this exercise of the constitutional republic, which is still a grand experiment on the world stage, is that it is presupposed that we're going to show up at the nation's capital and have very different ideas and philosophy, right? But we're never supposed to violate our core principles, but we have to give up on our preferences. That's how this system is designed to work. It's presupposed that people are going to come with different ideas, but it's also presupposed you'll be willing to sit around a table and work it out. Talk through your objections. Find the solution. Get to yes. And so what I'm trying to do every day is just navigate through this, stick by the core principles, and get people to recognize that we're all fellow Americans and we got to work through this together. It's somebody said one time, it's hard to hate someone if you know the names of their children. And the problem in Washington right now is we're in a different era where after that last vote of the week, everybody jumps on a plane and goes home. So they're not there. They don't live in Washington together. They don't go to church, synagogue together on the weekends. They don't do picnics together. They don't get to know each other. And so it's easy to stereotype people if you don't know what they're really about, where they come from, and it's difficult to have sympathy, empathy for anybody. And then we have social media, right? Trent Locke came in to see me the other day, great senator. He said, Mike, you remind me a lot of myself when I was a young man. I said, yes, thank you, Senator. He's like a legend to me. And he said, we had the same hair. Oh, well, thank you, Trent Lott. I don't know if y'all know Trent Lott, but that's a high compliment. I said, thank you, sir. He said, I was the leader in the Senate. This is back in the 90s, and he said, we had a 50-50 split in the Senate. And I was a long-time conservative from the South, and I had some of my Republican colleagues beating me up. They didn't like me working with Democrats. And I said, hello, do the math. It's 50-50. I got to work with the other side. He said, but you know what? Your job's a whole lot harder than mine. Thank you for the pep talk, Senator. He said, because we got social media. I can't imagine if people go online and tell everybody in America what a foul person I was every time I made a decision they didn't like. That's tough. Thank you, Senator. Are we getting to, where's the happy part, right? Thanks, Senator. Thanks for visiting. The people come by and they say that, wow, we got the greatest challenge right now, possibly of all time, because every member of Congress can go on social media every 5 minutes and share their opinion and burn down their colleagues. And some of them are really good at it. And so I'm from Louisiana, so I explain everything in either a football or a hurricane metaphor. And I said, let's go with the football metaphor. They're like, hey, guys, we need to be playing together as a team, right? And it's probably not a game-winning strategy to throw a Hail Mary pass on every single play, right? Probably not going to win the game that way. And also it's helpful if when we go take the field, you don't run off of the bench and tackle your own quarterback. That's helpful too. That's helpful to win the game. It's crazy.
So do you still lean on that positive self-talk that you learned so many years ago during that college experience? Is that how you get through the craziness?
I am an optimist. I believe that America is the greatest nation in the history of the world. It's not even close. We're the most successful, most powerful, most benevolent. It's not even close. And the reason is because we're built on these foundations. And our job, all of us right now, no matter where we are, is we have to remind this generation of Americans that, as Reagan said, freedom is not inherited in the bloodstream. You have to fight for it, pass it along to the next generation. And we have to remember what made America great in the first place. It's individual freedom and limited government and the rule of law and peace through strength and fiscal responsibility, free markets, human dignity. These are the ideas that set us apart and made us the extraordinary nation that we are. We cannot take for granted anymore that the current generation, those coming behind us, know any of that, because they really don't. This generation has no frame of reference for those great foundations. And so we have to speak with greater clarity, conviction, and consistency than we ever have before. And it's a serious challenge that we have, but I am absolutely convinced that God is not done with America yet. I think He's going to give us another chance. And so we have to be faithful. And people say, man, what a stressful job. How do you sleep at night? I say, actually, very easily. I only get like 3 hours of sleep, but I sleep well when I'm able to. And I said, you know why I go to sleep every night is that I remind myself what John Quincy Adams said. He said, the duty is ours, results are God's. Somebody gave me that admonition when I was selling books, and I applied it then too. And so it didn't matter how many units I sold that day. I thought, well, I did my best today. I did my duty. Tomorrow will probably be better. I'm just going to keep plugging away and the law of averages will kick in, right? And it did. If you keep plugging away and you keep working, duty is ours, results belong to God. I'm not sovereign. I just do my responsibility. And that's what all of us are supposed to do. This is what America's built on. And I think our best days are ahead of us.
Well said. Mr. Speaker, thank you so much for making some time for us.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
If you enjoy this podcast, please make sure to subscribe. And to stay updated on everything that the Action Catalyst is up to, make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram at Action Catalyst Podcast and on Twitter at Catalyst_Action. And thanks for listening.